What the fuck do you want?
I'm a fucking failure. I'm trying to do something different, but then Destiny fucked me in the ass.
Well, you know, I'm really fucking busy doing Swedish things like eating knäckemacka and fucking busy, you know? Not going to phone good, so real good step, you know? And fuck. And then I'm going down, and then I'm going that way, so you know. So I'm really busy right now, so why don't you try calling Jonas or something, you know, because I'm busy doing this, you know, this right here. So just call Jonas instead, okay? You'll be fine. You'll be fine. God damn it! You're tearing me apart, TapChap.
Kevin told me you needed my help.
Yeah. I have a problem. Well, it all started a few months ago, when I first got into doing reviews.
What was this that started a few months ago?
I had this idea to do something different for Halloween, but then Destiny went and fucked me in the ass.
Sodomy!
Yes, exactly that.
And exactly how did the sodomy occur?
It was a loose fucking wire in my hard drive.
How loose?
Just as loose as Capcom's grasp on survival horror.
And how does that make you feel?
Well, I don't know. After the abomination of Resi 6, I don't know what to feel.
How about Revelations?
Revelations?
Yeah, Revelations. You haven't played it?
No?
We got a job to do.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is TapChap and welcome to the TapChap Show. So, yeah, you may have noticed that the... Ghosts. So yeah, you may have noticed that the other Creepmon videos didn't exactly happen. But blame my hard drive for that one. There was a loose wire in it and I completely fucked up everything. It threw my schedule completely off and it just would have been impossible to get the other videos out in time. So, to make up for that little hiccup, I've decided to bring you an entirely new review altogether of Resident Evil Revelations with the help of my good buddy Jonas. You ready to do this, Jonas?
Yeah.
Let's go. I've been a fan of the Resident Evil series for quite some time. While I've never played any of the original on the PlayStation 1, I do know about them, and from what I've seen, they look like incredible games. Would you believe that Resi 5 was the first ever Resi game I've ever played? Please don't hurt me. And you know what? I kind of enjoyed it. I know it isn't really Resident Evil, but it was a fun game and I enjoyed playing through it. When I went to play Resi 4, however, that really made me realize that 5 is certainly flawed in comparison. But don't get me started on Resi 6. Jesus Christ, on roller skates, that game was terrible.
I myself have only beaten Resident Evil 4 and played a good chunk of Resident Evil 5. Other than that, I don't have any major connection to the franchise, and when it comes to survival horror in general, I've never been very interested in it. At least not until recently. I played Resident Evil 4 for the first time in May of this year, and only then did I grow any sort of interest in the genre. Games like Metro, Dead Space, and Limbo are amongst the ones I like that have any connection to the horror genre, either as the game's theme or just something else. Nevertheless, I of course had to pick up the humble Capcom bundle. I've wanted to try out Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, as well as probably review them one day. As Carlos just as blasphemous as me, being guilty of sodomy and everything, I find him the perfect fit for this collab.
I've never played Revelations myself either, so this would be new territory for me as well. But I'm wondering how this game came to exist.
Now in 2012, the 3DS was going strong and was selling faster than hotcakes. With games like Nintendo's Plus Cat, everyone but Carl had one.
Capcom were looking to create another Resident Evil game after the somewhat negative response to Resident Evil 5, taking into account what the fans stated was wrong with Resi 5 and tried to bring back the survival horror genre to the Resident Evil franchise with Revelations. Originally created for the 3DS, it received very positive reviews on its release back in 2012. Feedback was so positive that Capcom made the decision to release a HD port for the Xbox 360, PS3, Wii U and PC a year later in 2013. And how is it? Well, that's what we're here to take a look at tonight on Halloween. See? Still connected to Creep Month in a way, right? Okay. Right away, we get our intro screen, and I can see they really made an effort.
You puns.
Now this menu screen is barren. Resident Evil have never been known for their menus, but hey, this is a re-release and it would be nice with menus that neutralize more than basic measures. But then again, what does one expect from a main menu in a game originally on a handheld? You know, navigating the menu using small screens like these?
So what's the story in Balamory? Wouldn't you like to know? Revelations takes place between Resident Evil 4 and 5. Jill Valentine is on the hunt for her old partner Chris Redfield as he went missing during a mission on a big-ass ship known as the Queen Zenobia. She hops on a tugboat with a new partner Parker, aka Russell Crowe, and head off to sea to find the Queen Zenobia, kick some ass and bring Chris back in time for tea.
We get a sweet catching of Jill and Parker arriving at Queen Zenobia, and this is where it all begins. And thus we finally get a view of the game's presentation. Now with the game originally on a handheld, you'd expect interlaced edges, a lot of popping and whatnot, but I'm happy to say that Resident Evil Revelations' graphical capability is quite impressive. Even though when the faces look kind of somewhat, oh, Jill, oh, you've been sniffing some dust particles from the steroids factory again, haven't you?
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jonas. Some of the character designs and models have been redesigned for this game, and they don't look right. I'm too used to Jill's design from Resi 5, where she looks so much more feminine in the face. But here? Oh Jesus, why is she so wide-jawed? She's got the jawline of a bodybuilder. It's kinda distracting. Kinda takes the sexiness out of Jill with the face like that. Can I just, yeah, I'm just gonna, oh god, that's so much better. You got a point about the graphics too, Jonas. They do look really good coming from a 3DS game. A lot of the textures look really nice, and they managed to get it up to Xbox 360 PS3 quality. Models look great in this game. They have really high definition textures and just look really clean. And just look at that ass! Jill can really pull off tight outfits. Am I right?
Now with Resi tradition, the locals are bound to be cool as fuck. In Resi 4 there was the villages, the island, and my favorite, the castle. Resi 5 took place in Africa and Resi 6 took place in Hollywood. Even though Resi has had quite a lacking appeal when it comes to the setting, Revelation has a pretty neat one, and it's on a fucking boat. As well as a pretty great snow level in my opinion.
Setting the game on a huge ship in the middle of the ocean was a good choice. I think being trapped in the middle of nowhere out at sea really gives the game that sense of isolation. I get the feeling that Capcom tried to create the tension you felt wandering around the mansion in Resi 1 and that feeling of loneliness from Resi 4 and merged them together to create this setting. It kinda works. The tight, narrow corridors of the Zenobia are very reminiscent of Resi 1. There are even some sections of the ship that nearly try to recreate the mansion, like with these bedrooms and this dining hall. Tell me you don't get reminded of the Spencer Mansion looking at these places. The dim lighting that is present throughout the ship really set the mood. It makes the ship really creepy looking. This is what a Resident Evil game should look like, unlike Resi 5 or Resi 6? More like Resi Dicks.
The feeling of isolation really works as well. There's a somewhat claustrophobic aspect to it, with those tight narrow corridors and whatnot, which is kind of ironic considering we're on a boat that's in the middle of the wide open sea. So the sense of claustrophobia is quite abstract in this regard. The isolated atmosphere is kind of the one reminiscent in games like BioShock, being under the sea where no one can hear you scream. Oh wait.
It does seem very cinematic. I could see this as a location in a horror movie if done in a similar way to this. There was definite effort put into this setting. From the moment you step foot on this ship, you know that there's something fishy is going on here. So the setting is nice and the graphics are great for a 3DS game, but how's the gameplay pan out? We're the reviewers, why the fuck am I asking you? You prat? Controls in this game seem a bit off to me. You have the ability to strafe left and right while moving forward like any other third-person shooter.
Now you see, when it comes to third-person shooter, it is very important to make sure there's more to it than the core mechanics. Take Uncharted for example. It is the third-person shooter at heart, but it has a lot of elements sprinkled in to add more meat to the bone. And without all those extras, Uncharted would just be generic. Granted, it is a very hard genre to master, but that's exactly why I look away from it and add stuff to it instead. I consider Fuse to be very good because it has a range of interesting weapons, giving it some greatly appreciated added appeal. Revelations just has normal generic weapons and cool looking enemies. And yes, of course, I'm sure Cell is hard to develop a third-person shooter on a handheld, and it really shows. I guess it's kind of excusable in that regard. Now the shooting isn't in any way directly bad because it works, but I just can't give a proper explanation to it.
It throws you off because camera placement looks a lot like Resi 5, which makes you think you're gonna move like in Resident Evil 4 and Resi 5. In those games, you can only move forward in the direction you're facing. So playing Revelations feels weird because you move the analog stick to the left and right expecting Jill to turn, but she ends up moving her whole body to the left or right. It takes a while to get used to it. And what's a Resi game without guns? The guns in this game handle just like they did in Resi 5, however, they felt kind of weak. None of the guns seem to have any kick or weight. They don't really seem to differ all that much. Even the shotgun isn't great to use. When you fire at the BOWs, it just feels like your bullets are bouncing off. It's a real shame because it makes the combat seem kind of boring. I swear, you'd get more fun throwing a bag of frozen peas at the BOWs. You'd probably do more damage too.
However,
the guns may be lacking any power, but as you make your way through your ship, you can find weapon parts and upgrade your weapons, which is
very nice.
I like this idea. It's something new that Capcom brought to the table, and it's so refreshing to see. Wow! Capcom doing something new and original? Well, touch my nipples and call me Samantha. Could Capcom actually be learning? Well, actually no, because Resi 6 came out after this and they
Fucked everything up again!
Damn it, Capcom. Capcom tried to innovate once again with the Genesis scanner.
Oh man, the scanner. It's stupid. Anyone else play Skyward Sword? Because that game had a scanner and it fucking sucked. At least it has a better function here than Skyward Sword, but it still just breaks all the flow of the gameplay. It's just like in Skyward Sword. All you do is walk around in first person mode and you point at things. Now unlike in Zelda, the gimmick is not showed in your face like, look at these motion controls baby, you can tilt the sword even. Although I have to admit that emotion plus thing with the sword in Skyward Sword is pretty rad. But even if Revelations had motion plus and tilting a sword, the scanner is just there and it really does have no purpose.
See, you use this thing to scan the area around you, and scan BOWs you may come across to learn more about them, and find items like herbs and ammo, and it's essential to find these things to keep you, well, alive. It's a cool idea on paper, but for me at least, it seems to kinda slow everything down. In my opinion, this scanning mechanic just takes you out of the immersion, going from these dank, creepy corridors into this first-person glowy screen of glowiness to see what shit is around you or to scan the monsters. I feel like I'm scanning for fucking Pokemon than whatever the fuck these are. Oh, and speaking of the BOWs...
They suck!
Capcom just seemed to lose their grip on enemy design as well. Like, what kind of stupid design is this? I know this stuff is very subjective, but man, where's our Gyarados, Elgigantes, and what kind of reptiles do backflips when they're shot? Not even Steve Irving could explain it. This is a phenomenon unlike anything mankind has ever seen.
I'm sorry, but this is not scary. Even mutant dogs and hunters from Resi 1, yeah. They're the same monsters. Come on, Capcom, I haven't even played Resi 1 and I noticed that. Only you made them lame here.
Why do they do backflips?
They were actually pretty scary in Resi 1, but what the fuck did you do to them? And one last thing about this scanner. If you scan the BOWs, you'll notice its percentage number increase. When it reaches 100%, you'll be rewarded with a health pickup.
Oh, cool. You're so nice.
This isn't really needed considering that you find plenty of green herbs around the Queen Zenobia. So scanning these BOWs seems kind of pointless.
You know what else is stupid? This beach level. It is nothing. Nothing else than jogging around on the beach and scanning chunks of pink substance. And I have teeth. Oh man, this is pretty spooky. This is pretty tense.
This level only serves as a tutorial level for the goddamn scanner. Like Jonas said, you scan and shoot nothing but pink, fleshy slugs. Such a joyous time!
This level is fucking garbage.
Thankfully though, there are more levels in other locations.
Like the snow level, introducing us to the wonders of the Norwegian summer with undead dogs lurking around wanting to shoot your balls off. Climb the beautiful mountains and see the joy of the snow, I guess. All in all, I seriously love this level. Winter is such a nice theme as well. Can we please just have a Resi game taking place somewhere snowy, like Alaska or maybe Svalbard? You know, fighting at the snowmen and polar bears.
Having a snowy level like this is a very refreshing sight. Not many Resi games have levels like this one.
Except for...
My only gripe with it is that it's over before it even begins. You can literally finish this level in under 7 minutes, and as far as I know, this level doesn't appear again. My other nitpick is with the BOWs here too. Don't get me wrong, design-wise they're fine. They actually look pretty decent. It's just their animation and attack. When they move, they kind of just slide around the place.
You better not say.
It's a snow level. They're supposed to slide around. It's icy, you knobsack.
Because if you do, I'll tear off your eyebrows and stick them to your ass cheeks. I don't mean slide as in they're slipping on the ice. I mean, looking at their running animations, it looks like they're running forward all the time. Their bodies don't seem to bend or twist when they change direction like real dogs do. It just looks cheaply made.
I also do think the dogs look somewhat weird in places. I mean, come on. The only variety between them is their sizes.
The same thing can be said for their attacks. When they jump at you, they don't seem to have any weight. They can gang up on you alright and do pretty decent damage, but looking at how they attack, it doesn't seem to match up, if that makes any sense. Does it? What do you mean, no?
All in all, none of the enemies are threatening in the slightest. I've jumped on a couple occasions, but never because it was really scary. Only because I wasn't paying attention and suddenly there was an enemy in front of me.
You know what is threatening?
The voice acting.
My god, I can't,
It's horrible.
For a modern Resi game, it's really disappointing. It's not as bad as Resi 1's voice acting, don't get me wrong, cause that shit is straight up hilarious.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Shut up, Barry.
I know it's a 3DS game, and I know the voice actors involved weren't gonna bring their A material, but just listen to some of this shit.
If it's an engineered mutation, this could prove a link.
I'll run some tests on this. Continue with the investigation.
Roger Craig Smith, who has played Chris in Resi 5 and Resi 6, even came back to reprise his role as Chris, and even he didn't do a great job at it.
The interference here killed our signals. We're at Valcoinen Mock Airport.
Ugh.
Why, Roger? Why?
I usually don't notice bad voice acting nor shitty writing, really. But voice acting like this is nothing short of gold.
Both of you. Look.
It's seriously like something you'd hear from a preschool stage play.
We have been at war for 3 weeks in an attempt to handle this matter. There have been rescues, there have been losses. Too many. But any further delays would simply cripple our cause. Surely you can understand that.
I'm afraid I cannot. Obliterating the site by satellite is only a quick fix. We could lose crucial evidence.
Patricia Jolie,
Or however you're supposed to pronounce that.
played Jill in Resident Evil 5, and seeing as that was the first Resi game I ever played from start to finish, I'm used to hearing her voice coming out of Jill. She did a really good job in Resi 5 and could actually act, unlike Michelle Ruff, who played Jill in Revelations. I mean, she's not terrible, but she didn't seem to have very much emotion in her performance. She makes Jill seem so one-dimensional and very bland. She appears like she has no personality in the game. Looks like Michelle had a
Rough time.
That goes for the other characters in the game as well, like O'Brien played by Paul Eiding. He is so bland. You could replace him with a stale piece of bread and get a better performance out of it. There is no life in his dialogue when you hear it. It sounds like he is literally reading from the script rather than trying to make it sound real.
And he kinda looks like Gail Mibson.
Nobody gives a decent performance in this game. I'm no professional voice actor or anything, but even I think I could do a better job than these guys.
And just like the threatening quality of the voice acting, there's an arbitrary multiplayer. And this was fucking hell. Now both Carl and I were very disappointed to find out that the campaign didn't have co-op at all. Only to find out that the raid mode is nothing more than the same exact levels from the single player with co-op.
Raid mode? Why? Why does it even? What were the big heads at Capcom thinking when they went ahead with this idea?
Okay, so we're not going to include multiplayer, but we're going to include raid mode.
What is that, sir?
Ah, well, I'm glad you asked, you boy. It's basically multiplayer, but it's not.
So you play through the same levels as the campaign with a friend, but you get scored for it. So basically multiplayer.
Why the fuck would you do that?
I know Resi games work better without multiplayer, as it kinda destroys the whole survival horror feeling of the games. But why create a mode that is exactly the same deal as multiplayer?
The only thing the raid mode really adds is the ability to play as different characters in whatever level, and you can buy weapons and upgrade and whatnot. That's it.
As you play through the campaign mode, you unlock more stages to play through in raid mode, which happens to be the same exact levels with no change. The only difference being, instead of rolling right into the next stage, you finish by breaking a big-ass BSAA emblem, and then you get scored on how well you did throughout the stage. Wait, does that seem familiar at all?
Oh fuck no.
No! What? You gotta be No! Come on, Capcom, did you really... You really had to make a scoring screen that similar to Sonic the fucking Hedgehog? What did you even need? If you want to play this with a friend, make sure you play through it first so you'll have all the levels unlocked. I can't take any more. I'm done with this game. I'm sure the question on everybody's mind right now is this. Is Resident Evil Revelations scary?
Well, you know...
No, not really. While Revelations tried its best to bring back the horror in the survival horror genre, it kind of falls flat. I thought the setting on the Queen Zenobia was a great choice for this game. It creates a creepy atmosphere with its creepy long corridors and dimly lit rooms. However, I found a lot of the rooms scattered throughout the ship to be really heavily inspired by the Spencer Mansion from Resi 1. There isn't really anything wrong with that, it's just that I personally feel that they tried to mimic the mansion too closely. I get the feeling that Capcom was literally trying to pick up the Spencer Mansion and stuff it inside the ship. The game also gets very boring very quickly. Fighting the BOWs in this game isn't really all that fun. The BOWs themselves are pretty plain looking in design, maybe with the exception of one or two, but the rest seem very generic. They're all very slow when moving towards you, and they just look goofy as they waddle towards you. They don't seem very threatening and can almost be avoided altogether. Even if you pick a fight with them, your weapons don't feel like you do any damage. And even the voice acting is a letdown in this game. Characters seem so lifeless and bored whenever they speak, and makes the characters come across as if they have no personality. The scanner, while a good concept on paper, fails in execution as you end up forgetting it's even there. But even with all those negatives, there are one or two positives. Graphically, the game looks great. The game looks very pretty considering it's a 3DS port, and even the music is pretty decent.
I mean, it's not exactly Resident 4, but I'd be lying if I said that this isn't a damn well ported game. Considering it was originally on 3DS, I did not expect it to play this well. And yes, the levels are pretty short, and Rainbow really lacks a lot of what made Mercenaries mode fun in the other game. But it's far from a bad game, and as someone who's only beaten Resi 4, I really like this game for what it is, but that's where it stops. I like this game for what it is, a 3DS game ported to console. Had it not been for the sake of this collab, I most likely would never have played it. Resident Evil Revelations isn't a 7 out of 10 wagon for me. It's good for what it is, but it lacks the good old Resident Evil flair in my opinion. Shooting the enemies is cool at first, but after a while you'll just be doing it so much, and you'll soon just feel hypnotized. And that's what Resident Evil Revelations is to me, a decent Resident Evil game at best.
Resident Evil Revelations was a great attempt to try and bring the spoopiness back into Resident Evil. It was a great attempt, but a flawed execution. But I can't be too hard on the downsides because, you know, it was a 3DS game after all. But me personally, I don't really see myself finishing this game. It just got really boring really quickly for me, but that doesn't mean it's a terrible game at all. I can see why people enjoy this game, and that's all fine and good, but it just isn't the game for me. And that concludes this review of Resident Evil Revelations. I hope this makes up for the whole, you know, creep month not happening kind of thing, but what can you do? I mean, technology. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to my bathtub. I've got more of life to think about. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is TapChap here. Thank you so much for sitting through this review of Resident Evil Revelations. I hope this really does make up for all the shit that went down with Creep Month. I know some of you are probably looking forward to seeing me review the rest of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, but as stated, there was an issue with my hard drive and it threw the schedule off entirely, which made it practically impossible to get the other videos done and out in time. I still wanted to do something special for Halloween, and Jonas came up with the idea that we should review a game together. I want to thank him very much for doing this collab review with me. If you click the link on screen, it would take you to his previous review of
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
This was tough getting this video made, guys. It took us like nearly 2 weeks to get the script written, and it took this whole last week to get this video all edited together. If you enjoyed the video, how about you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the TapChap show content coming your way in the future.
Oh yeah, I also want to thank Kevin for being in the intro with his cameo. Thanks, Kevin. You're cool. Thanks. Link to his channel is in the description.
But that's all from me, guys.
And make sure you have a happy Halloween.
Oh, never doing that again.